welcome to a brand new video! Today we have a new mysterious countdown that I'm very excited about. I was thinking well, what are good ideas for mysterious countdowns? And I found a story of this kind and I say, well, let's do a countdown about this. As you saw by the title, it's about mysterious islands. There are ones that have things that make you say what? But before we start, don't forget to follow me on all my social media. You know I have a billion social media accounts. Follow me on Twitch where we see each other more often. In almost daily streamings, we play and we have a lot of fun. And also subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell so it lets you know when I upload a video. Very well, let's talk about this topic. Eight mysterious islands. Number 1. Hashima Island, Japan. Curiously, this was one of the places with the more population density back then for an island. I know, but I'll explain. Before it was called Gunkanjima, but now it's known as Hashima. Other people call it Battleship Island. It was 1885 and the Mitsubishi company had the idea to start exploring new places to be able to find coal. By that time, the most important thing regarding fuels were this kind of materials. They started looking in the ocean bed, they perforated around the island, and they found, in the undersea, precisely the material they were looking for. Just 5 years after mining the material in 1890, they decided to buy the island, for they already had enough money to do that. And that's how the existence of this mysterious place came to be. It produced around 410,000 tons of coal each year, and obviously a lot of people started to move there. I mean, the families of the people who work extracting this coal. And they were there for almost a century. At the beginning, they also had to face the strong waves this place had, so they decided to build a wall that completely surrounded the island, as you can see in these pictures. So it's very curious, and this place housed almost 6,000 people. As you can see, a lot of constructions and buildings were built so they could live there with their families. They built more than 150. However, things kept going forward, and as you know, the petroleum era came and it became the most advanced and most important fuel, so this was the apocalypse, so to call, for this life in the island. In 1974, Mitsubishi declared bankruptcy in that aspect and they decided to abandon the island. Obviously, they left with all the inhabitants that were there. And it was left completely abandoned until today. You can even still see the old buildings all completely abandoned. In that moment, Nagasaki took control, for in 2002, Mitsubishi donated the island to them so they could be in charge of everything that's inside the island. There are many construction workers that are constantly go there to prevent the buildings from falling, to try to maintain them and not get too deteriorated. It is said that nowadays it's open for some tourists that want to go, and even it was used for the filming of James Bond's Skyfall. Number 2. Atoll. This island is located south of Hawaii and it belongs to the USA. However, it is said that it's a cursed place because of different reasons. They say that at first, many ships sank close to its shores, and it's even said that there were treasures of dead seamen that constantly curse or hex this island. During the Second World War, it was used as housing for the troops, and many of them started to suffer panic attacks for everything related to the war. They were very anxious and they committed suicide. The year of 1946 came and the US government forced all the people that lived in this island to leave it for their own good and humanity's sake. But what they really did from this year until 1958 was to use this place for nuclear testing. It is said that they did around 67 tests in that place, and people say that in 1956 they created a bomb that detonated right there and completely destroyed the island. They said that the size of many of those nuclear detonations was even bigger than Hiroshima's and Nagasaki's, and even bigger than Chernobyl itself. According to what they said, the detonation's force was 15 megatons, which is 2.5 times what a person, or well, what you can expect, and 7,000 times bigger than Hiroshima. Obviously, the effect expanded around 11,000 kilometers, and obviously the people that have been close to this area have developed cancer and even many diseases due to genetic mutations. Clearly, since then, no one can live there, and the radioactivity has barely decreased. However, in 2010, the UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site, and they want to conserve it to show the amount of damage man can do. What's incredible is that almost nobody has talked about this topic, and what the USA did in that moment was very serious. Number 3. Pavaglia Island. This is also known as the Island of Death, and it is located in Italy, very few miles away from the city of Venice. During the Black Death pandemic, I don't know if you knew, same as with the coronavirus, it's very crazy, Italy was one of the most contaminated places and had a lot of victims. That's how in the 20s they decided to build a hospital to keep all those people precisely there in the island. At the beginning, this was for patients with mental illnesses, but eventually when the Black Death came, they started to use it for that. And the most serious thing is that they use it for people that had maybe sneezed or coughed one time, and they were sent straight to that hospital without their consent. It is said that the patients started suffering a lot of tortures and horrible things at the hands of the staff. Many doctors did awful things to the patient, and it's even said that one of the doctors who experimented with patients ended up committing suicide because of those awful things. When the Black Death situation became unmanageable, that not only brought sick people there, but all the bodies of the ones who were deceased. They say that they incinerated them right there, and they left their bodies there so the plague didn't expand to all the country. They even said that the floor was made 50% of the ashes of the patients they killed. Obviously, after that moment, the island was closed, and evidently no one wanted to live there or buy it. It is said that there are people who have tried to live there, but they ended up fleeing a few days later. As for now, it is completely abandoned, and almost no one likes to step in that island. Number 4. North Sentinel Island, India. Well, this is very curious for me because I knew something like this could happen, but I didn't actually know it truly existed. This island is located very close to India, and it belongs to them too. It's located in the Bay of Bengal, which is really close. As you can see in many Google Maps pictures, it's completely covered by jungle. You can't really see anything from the habitat of the people, but a group of natives actually live there. This tribe is known as the Sentinelese, and it is said that they have inhabited that place for many years. Their population is about 50 to 115 people, but they are the ones of the few tribes that don't have any kind of contact with the rest of the world. It's very curious for one says like, how come no one's contact them? Well, they're a supremely primitive tribe and they don't let anyone get close. They have even brought the Nat Geo people in helicopters to get some images of the place, but they throw them many stones and many arrows so no one can get close. It is even said that one of the Nat Geo cameramen was wounded in his leg when he tried to do some takes because they shoot an arrow at him. No one can get close. It's even said that there was a fisherman that landed there accidentally, and all those natives went to him and killed him in a terrible way. So no one tries to enter anymore. After some tsunamis, some hurricanes and other things that had been, the government has tried to see if they are right, but they never allowed them to enter. So since 2004, the government and everybody stopped trying to understand that island. They won't go back and they won't know what's going in that tribe. However, they worried in case a virus reaches to them for the outside world or something similar, for it could completely wipe out that tribe. It is said that they don't farm because no farmland can be seen from the air, and they still don't know how to hunt or light a fire. So I don't know how they will survive. Number 5. Henderson Island. What's incredible incredible about this, more than the mystery inside the island, is how shocking the information is. Henderson Island is the most contaminated island in history and in the whole world, gathering more than 18 tons of trash in its 37 square kilometers. It's not big at all, and it gets a lot of trash daily. It is said that there are around 671 pieces of trash per square meter. It's unknown how all that ends up in that place, but it gets plastic all the time, which is what contaminates the most. Also ropes, bags, tires, and a lot of things we discard. They say that many of this trash comes from South America, for the currents that go through the places of the sea all around us ended up right in that island, very close to the British archipelago. In 2015, a scientist called Jennifer Lavers decided to go there as a social service to start exploring the island and tried to save it. That's when she discovered the highest contamination concentration in the whole world, and she also discovered something very interesting. And it was that because of the current and the strength of the current, besides a lot of trash obviously getting there, the trash also came supremely decomposed, like in a very small fragments that are difficult to pick up. And it is complicated because obviously the sea animals like turtles, crabs, and all those kind of animals eat that very small trash and may die. Back then, she decided to collect all the trash that was there, and they managed to pick up 8 tons, but what's sad is that right after they left, more and more trash came. It is said that sometimes even skeletons and human bodies are found, which is the terrifying part. And what's the most terrifying thing is that probably this island will never be safe. Number 6. Guyola Island, Naples. It is said that this is one of Italy's more precious, serene, and relaxing islands, but it also said that it hides a very macabre history behind. It is very close to even swimming the shore of Paulettee, and it's very curious because you see it and it's like some very little mountains, and they even like a small bridge in the middle. They say that at the beginning of the 19th century, this island was inhabited by a hermit called the Wizard. They say that little by little he started building this island, and that he was the one that built the villa that characterized it. It is said that while he was building all this, the actual owner of the island was a Swiss professor called Hans Braun. They say that at some point, this man was building a cable car to connect the beach with the island, and on one of those days, a lightning struck the cable car in which his wife Elena was. She obviously died instantly. It is not known what happened, but the next day the husband was found dead, lying in the carpet with a gunshot in his head. It is said that one of his closest friends was very affected by this news, and he also ended up his own life sometime later. And then the legends of the island being truly cursed began surfacing. Later, the owner was Maurice Sandas, who also owned a pharmaceutical. It is said that he ended in a psychiatric hospital because he declared bankruptcy and couldn't handle that. After that, Giovanni Angelelli was the man who also bought it. However, his family fell in disgrace and several of his family members ended up dead. Another man called Paulettee, who was a man that owned an oil company, bought it, and his son ended up kidnapped. Another man called Gian Pasquale bought it after and ended up in jail because of several debts he had with the government. And then his wife decided to auction the island, and she died in a car crash. After that, another man called Francesco Ambrosio bought it, and he and his family ended up murdered in their house in Naples. All this kept having many stories, but obviously no one lives there now because they say like, this place is cursed, please don't go, don't buy it, anything. And according to some research they did, they managed to discover that it was back in the ancient Roman times that this started happening, and that this curse was born. Some people who inhabited that place were very ruthless with others. Some enslaved many people and threatened them horribly. They drowned them, they murdered them, they didn't feed them, and it is even said that some people built specific things inside this place to perform black magic and satanic rituals. So it is said that this was what cursed the place. Number 7. The Island of the Snakes. This is one of the most shocking to me because I have a horrible phobia of snakes and the legs of them. The island of Queimada Grande, also known as the Island of Snakes, is 33 kilometers away from the shore of São Paulo in the Atlantic Ocean. It is very close to Brazil. This is the only place that a specific type of a snake inhabits, called the Bothrobs insularis. It is said that it's of a brown to yellowish color and can grow up to 70 centimeters. The most curious thing is that this is one of the most poisonous snakes in the whole world, and there's obviously an insane amount of them in this place. It is said that this started around 11,000 years ago when the sea started to descend, and let's say that the snakes stayed in that specific area. Then they started to regroup, and many types of very poisonous snakes began gathering there. It is said that they also started hunting migratory birds and not the ones that lived there, for they knew how to defend themselves, and they began developing a better poison, much more potent, against human beings. Being bitten by one of these snakes would mean an instant and supremely painful death. Just a few scientists have access to this place to conduct research, for crazily the only vaccine or the only way of curing a bite of a snake is with their own poison. However, you can't go into this place, not even by accident, because it happened one time to a fisherman. He died in the most horrible way and later only found parts of him scattered around. A family also tried to move there, but after they all saw their house full of snakes, they got scared and they all died. Sadly, they were found full of snake bites and blood yet. Sometimes people say that besides the scientists, some furtive hunters go there, for they can charge up to $30,000 for one of those types of snakes. I won't ever step a foot in that place in my whole life. Oh, so scary. Number 8. Roanoke Island. This is an island that's very close to North America, and it has a very mysterious and curious story since its beginning. It happened around the year of 1587, in all the time of colonies, conquest, of America's discovering. So a group of colonizers came to this island. There were around 117 of them, and they came with a man called John White, who started founding it. He tried to found other places, but he couldn't, for there were many indigenous people that didn't allow him to enter. But this was the only place they found completely uninhabited. However, after exploring for some days, they found there was a small tribe there. However, it seemed as though it wasn't terrible and they would be able to negotiate some things with them. So this man had to go back to England and to bring some supplies, also more people, to start building the colony. Meanwhile, he left the colonizers living there and they started to build some things to start living in that place. However, he didn't know the journey was going to be longer than expected. There were storms and problems, so he took longer than he planned. And so 3 years later, he went back to the place, and to his surprise, he didn't find a single colonizer living in that place. There wasn't sign of them, there weren't traces of violence either, he just didn't know what had happened to them. He didn't have any information and the indigenous people were gone. The only thing he found was a post with the Croatoan word crave in it. In other 3, he also found the letters CRO carved in it. He thought all the colonizers had moved to the Croatoan Island, which was another one close by. However, sometime later, he discovered that that was the name of the indigenous tribe that lived there. It was never known what happened to those colonizers. There weren't traces of them. As so much time has passed, there wasn't any communication, and many theories about what could have happened in that place started to circulate. Some say that all of them fled because the tribe forced them to, so they went to different places, and other people say that they mixed with them to be able to survive. It's also thought that the tribe killed them all, but we don't really know what happened. That story is now called the Legend of the Lost Colony. It is said that some scientists did research to know what had happened to that colony, and they discovered that probably they moved, for they found stones that indicated the movement of people to other areas. The craziest thing happened when the meaning of the word Croatoan was discovered. It means demonic entity, so there are many things that just don't fit there. But it was never really known how the story of the people who inhabited the island ended. Anyway, I leave our Mysterious Islands countdown here. I hope you like it a lot. I found this topic really interesting. There are many things I didn't know. When you go to an island you don't know, so it's better to know a lot of things. Don't forget to leave a like, the thumbs up, comment what you think and what other mysterious island you know, and if you like me to do a second part. Don't forget to also follow me on all my social media. You know I have a billion social media accounts, and the most important thing is to subscribe to this channel and to activate the notification bell so it lets you know when I upload a video. Thank you so much for watching me. Don't forget to follow your dreams, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!